very, very stimulating session. Thank you once again for joining us on this series. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Over to Sonal.
Yes, sir. I welcome Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. R.L. Rana, Dr. Sanjay Goyal, Director, Institute of Education Technology, our Speaker of the Day, Dr. Amit Pandey, and other panelists. I also welcome all the attendees who are attending the session through this webinar and all the attendees who are attending the session through Facebook page on our JKLU. The title of the day is The Useful Robots and AI Beyond Sci-Fi and How Everyone Can Contribute. This is part of our industry luminary lecture series as mentioned by VC sir. I take privilege to introduce Dr. Amit Kumar Pandey. Dr. Amit is the President, Chief Technology Officers and Chief Officer and Chief Science Officer, Hanson Robotics Limited in Greater Paris. The company is the creator of the most human-like expressive social robots. He is the former head and principal scientist of SoftBank Robotics Europe in Paris, France, and the company which created the world's first mass-produced social humanoid robot Pepper. His research interest falls at the intersections of people, society, and robotics and AI. He keeps exploring towards the social innovation of such new technologies to address some of the societal needs. Dr. Pandey brings us integral background in AI, robotics, and social interaction to accelerate the development of the Hanson AI platform, powering the intelligence and interactive personalities of the company's robots and virtual AI characters. He also leads the development of commercial AI and robot solutions for media, research, service, and home applications. Looking to his academic background, he has been postdoctoral researcher in robotics and AI in France, doctoral researcher in robotics and AI again in France, and his thesis has been awarded as among the best 3 PhD theses in entire Europe for the prestigious Georges Giralt PhD Award EU Robotics. He has been alumni of IIIT Hyderabad and also served as a research assistant robotics research lab in IIIT Hyderabad. Amitji, we welcome you in this session, and this audience comprises of students of all engineering branches and faculty of all engineering branches and also industry practitioners. Over to you, sir.
One word which I thought I may add, and that's the great thing a teacher can talk about his student. So he happens to be one of the most beloved former students of our own director, Dr. Sanjay Goyal. So that is a special word of introduction for us and our students there. Those of you who are listening to this speech understand he is one of the very favorite students of our director. We welcome you, sir. I join Sonal and everyone at the university in extending a very hearty welcome to you.
Thanks a lot for this very long introduction. I was also trying to recall and learn a little about myself, but I think most important part of the introduction is that I was and I am the student of Professor Sanjay Goyal, and I learned a lot from him, and I also learned how to learn things. So that is very important once you want to move ahead in your career. So thanks a lot, sir. And so let me try to start if everything is working fine. Okay. So should I share the screen or how we should?
Yeah. Share the screen. You just click on share screen button and you'll be able to showcase whatever you want.
Yes. So I'm sharing to all panelists. I think.
It would be visible to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I hope you can see see the things. Okay. Okay. Now are you able to see things?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So thanks again, and I have already started my timer, but feel free to stop me when I am running out of time, because I really want to give very deep understanding and a global view about what are useful robots and how they are different than the images which we might have from science fiction literature or movies. And one of the most important thing is that how everyone can contribute in this. So it is not only about engineers or technicians, but this new domain of robotics is for everyone, all part of society who can contribute in this. And so currently I am the president and the chief science officer of Hansen Robotics, but in past, as you have already indicated, I have different roles, from being involved in the annual roadmap of that. Why I'm saying all this is because it is very important to get a kind of insider perspective from academics, from industry, from the interfacing with policymakers, and trying to understand that what are the real use, what are the real potentials, where are the technology and scientific barriers to achieve something good for the society from the technologies which are yet to fully emerge as the next technology for the society, and that is robotics and AI, and basically their combination. So there are different robots and different capabilities. So these are some of the robots with whom I have worked personally, but there are many different kind of robots, and they are designed for some specific purpose. They have different capabilities in terms of the way they will able to interact with people. They will be able to interact with environment, see the environment, perceive the environment. But there are some common features in all these robots, and this kind of robots which you are seeing, basically we can term them as humanoid robots, some human-like appearance or resemblance in terms of their behavior, in terms of their shape, their capabilities, and they are basically built for interacting and existing in the human environment in a more socially aware manner. And there are some common design principle of this type of robots, like they need a kind of sensor and some design to interact with environment, with the people. Then they have to perceive the environment as well, so they have to make sense out of the things which are there. So they should have some sensors to get and collect raw data, and then some high level capabilities to interpret that data and better understand the situation and the environment. They should also have some sensors to manipulate the environment. Manipulations means how a robot will be able to interact with the environment, the physical world, by touching, by holding object, and by giving something to someone or taking something from someone. So all these are part of the manipulation. So you might have already heard about robots which are manipulating in industrial environment, but now these robots have to manipulate the things in a human-like environment, which I will give a better overview. What does it mean? And then all these robots should have sensors to move around in the environment. So it is not very much preferable that these robots are standing at one place, or they are simply still and no physical motion or no navigation. And these physical motions are very much important for doing many kind of tasks in the environment. So I will point some of those tasks. So let me show this video if it is working. I don't know. Okay. So I'm sure many of you must have already seen this type of videos and robots in science fiction movies. And this is the imagination, like when people see this type of robots and their capabilities, they have a huge expectation from the robots. And that's also a kind of bottleneck for us. So it is good to have a good imagination about how the technology should be evolving. But again, if it is too high and technology is not able to catch up, you will see that the technology which has some potential impact to make is failing in that. So this is one of the challenge, and today I will try to give you some of the current applications which is beyond science fiction. So the way robot are behaving, or the way robot are interacting with the environment. So idea is to break the thought barrier about the dangers of these robots and see and show how they can be more socially uh, useful, and at the same time how robots are not only doing dull, dirty or dangerous job, which was the some of the design idea behind developing the robots in the past. So how they are more integrating with the society and being the part of our social ecosystem to support and improve our way of living. That is something we have to take into account, and always keep in mind that there are huge potential of this kind of robots. So you have already seen that robot in the movie, and now so this slide is basically showing that we have different kind of robots. Again, some who are able to jump, run, fly, look like human, behave, interact like human, and the problem is that these are different technology which are yet waiting to be integrated to achieve something which you might have seen in all these movies, that a single robot is able to do everything, and that is the expectation. And we as the researcher in robotics, or you as the next generation of robotics experts, we have to move in the direction where we are not only fulfilling the expectation of the people which has a preconception, but also we are delivering something which is useful for the society, for the humanity, by integrating and by scientifically advancing the technology altogether. And it is simply a spectrum of different technology which you are seeing here to push in the domain of robotics. So robot operational environments are changing quickly. In the past, robots were basically made to work in the natural environment, or in the industrial environment, where there is not much human interference, or there is not much presence of the human. So robots were basically working isolated from human. Then a new era of robotics came, which is termed as social robotics or human robot interaction, which introduced robots in a human environment, and it also gave new kind of R&D challenges, but a lots of opportunities to address the societal needs of our society, and then how robots can fulfill all those needs. So the way of achieving innovation through robotics. Before that, we have to understand some ingredients and key constructs of robots. So we have body. Obviously, robots should have body. Then it should have some capabilities to see, move, manipulate, as I mentioned. It should have also some behavioral autonomy for decision making, doing the right thing at the right moment. But the most important thing, which is still a big question, is the purpose, that why and how we will be making these robots. So there are traditional robotics and AI which are already working together to fulfill some of those aspects of the spectrum, but now there is huge demand and the huge need of making society inclusive of all these design, development, application, implementation of these robots. Only then we will be able to better find out the purpose of these kind of robots, and think about the design which will be useful again for the real needs. And this is where we are moving now. So this is the era of current revolution of social robotics, basically, where we are trying to see how society can play a role. And that is the place where I mentioned that now it is the time for everyone to enter this domain, robotics domain, which is far more beyond only the technology of robotics. And that's how we are pushing a emerging field which is called socially intelligent robots. So these robots are not only doing something, but they are also socially aware, and they are behaving in the way which is acceptable and expected by the people. And through these robots are already playing different roles. They are really deployed. They are working in different places, including education, healthcare, elderly care, companionship, banking, arts and science museum, therapy and training purposes, telemedicine, even spreading awareness about some art, culture, and many ingredients of the society. So it's a wide deployment of these robots in different sectors of our society, and this is happening. So this is again not science fiction, but this is happening already, and there is a way to derive this kind of deployment for each of us, which I will try to hint a little more before going further. And again, I should mention that I am not going to get in much technical detail or the scientific detail. I will simply highlight some of the challenges or some of the technical and scientific needs, and then we will have a long way to discuss even in the future. So what is social? Social is basically living in companionship with others or in a community rather than in isolation. And then they should have some awareness about social environment and social awareness, something called theory of mind, basically understanding that what other people are thinking or other people are able to see, or what is their current mental state about a current situation, so that a common ground can be built about any interaction or about any behavior. And then these robots should also be able to interact and engage and be safe and effective. At the same time, they should also able to follow some social and cultural norms and expectations, and also how they can get some help from the people. We are thinking about collaborative robots, and that is basically industry 4.0, where human and robot are working together to solve a task. So again, there is a need of exchange and cooperative behavior which should be coming from the robot, but by understanding the human better. And there are many ways where we can achieve social intelligence in the robot, and this is one of those. So we can identify some key cognitive aspects, some key behavioral aspect, getting inspired from child development and human behavioral psychology, try to create the computation model of all those key ingredients, make them to work together, integrate them, and in that way we will be able to achieve higher level of social and cognitive intelligence in the robot, with the hope that one day we will have fully socially intelligent agent to be useful in the society. And this is basically bottom up approach, but we can even have top down or mixed approach, where we start from a middle layer and try to develop both sides of the ingredients. So there are real life situations which are really within some social institution context. So social awareness and intelligence is important, and then we have to understand how human and robot can co-achieve a mission and a task. And that is where the new industrial revolution or new robotics revolution focus is, that how human and robot can coexist and do the things together. So as I mentioned, we have to inspire from different disciplines, and psychology is one of those, where we try to understand some basic socio-cognitive abilities of children. And there are many interesting things like perspective taking, which is very key thing, and it is very important that robots should be able to understand that how is the world, how you are seeing the current environment from your perspective, and then considering that in mind while behaving or while planning. And again, children are able to perform the same task in different ways, like if they have to hide something from someone or show something to someone, they try to hold the object and put it in front of eye, or they try to move something which is blocking the vision of other person to make it visible. So there is very interesting insight from this kind of domains. And then how we plan the things in the environment. So how we hold something, and why we hold some particular object in a particular manner. So these insights helps in creating the right kind of behavior in the robot, which will be more intuitive, more accepted by the people, and at the same time will help facilitating the task of the robot. And again, if we want to see how we want to make robot more in navigating in the environment in a social manner, we again can get very nice overview from the psychology literature. You might be listening to this word of social distancing a lot, and that is already getting used in robotics, that we try to see how robot can maintain the proper distance from the human when it has to do a particular task, or if it has to interact or not to interact with the person, or what is the relation between human and robot that defines how the distancing between a human and robot will be there. And now this term is very easy to explain for me to every one of you because of the social distancing keyword which we are using. Again, we maintain a kind of lane and preferences depending on different culture. We also have a kind of social force when we move. So it is not a physical force, but a social force because of our presence and our motion. All these we try to model in robots so that they are not uncomfortable for the people. So there is again lots and lots of other inspiration which we can get, but I will we first just to show some of the applications. And one of the requirements is that safety is very important, but that is not enough. And this is coming from the real industrial deployment of the robots, that robots have to be now more comfortable, be more intuitive and natural, and they should be able to have some sociability and then whether they are taking a decision, hybrid decision making, they should be adapt to particular human, and they should adapt to the needs and requirement of the people. So there is a list of requirement which we have to consider when we want to push robots to be really useful in the real environment. So there are many scientific challenges as well. So we need sufficient decision and planning autonomy. We have to have robots which are having some social signaling and understanding. They should be having natural interaction capabilities. They should be able to see things in the real environment, because scientifically we are advancing a lot, but still different lighting condition, different background, different noise condition are making things difficult to be perceived by the robot. And especially if robots are moving around, the camera is moving, different sensors are moving, so there are still challenges and at scientific level to solve all those. And then how a robot can have some physical interaction and compliance with the human partner to co-manipulate the things and to do the things in a way which is more useful. So there are different building blocks in terms of science which we have done, and I will again not go in much detail, but just to tell that there is a need of a strong scientific foundation if we want to make robots really useful for the people and make them understand human. And this is one of the very interesting examples which I am giving from past. So here you can see the robot is holding an object, and then it is giving to a person And by keeping in mind that that person can give this object to another person, and that another person can put that object in a trash bin. So it is a whole planning. It is a planning which is not only about the robot, but robot is able to plan about all other people who are in the environment, and then keep in mind the goal that, okay, some object has to go in the trash bin, and then how to do it in a collaborative manner, which will be reducing the effort of the joint effort of achieving the task. So robots should be able to consider this type of requirement, that the effort of the person, the physical capabilities of the people, of the robot, and the expectation, and plan different in different way for the same task. Like robot can take the object, it can put in the trash bin by itself, but there are lots of obstacles. It will take time. So there are all high level planning and decision making which robots should be able to do, and consider and come up with the autonomous planning, autonomous execution of the task. So let me tell a little about socially intelligent robots, socially interactive robot basically. So their shape, behavior, embodiment, and their character, all these are unique. And we got very nice feedback from the people that all, because of the combination of all these together, it is more engaging and more suitable for human and human environment, because our environment is also built for us. And in this way, we are trying to better integrate the robot and in a more intuitive manner to the people. And for any robot which are able to interact or engage with human, they should have lots of interaction capabilities. And I am not sure if you are able to hear the sound, but perhaps you can read the subtitles. So the point where you might have guessed that this type of interaction should be very smooth. So robots should have the understanding about the context, understanding about the whole situation of the interaction, so that robot is able to answer the things which is not very explicit, like how is the weather. It is very simple thing, but robots should know that weather of which place, and the person did not tell about that. Similarly, person has asked about umbrella and then Paris, so robot has to change completely the context or the location and then interact in that manner. So these things are making interaction more useful and more suitable for the long term coexistence of a robot and human in the situation. Okay. Again, here you can see that how to resolve some co-references about he and she, and keep the context of the interaction, so that you don't have to repeat the name, or you don't have to tell to the robot about whom you are talking. And these looks very natural and smooth, but there is a scientific need to achieve these things to make this. So again here, the message is that since these are robots, they should not be only interacting in we using dialogue, but the multimodality of interaction, the body language, how to perceive the environment, how to perceive the people, and then react according to that. So in this scenario, the person was smiling. So robot detected that, and then it took the input from the perception, and then it tried to merge this with the interaction of its own generated interaction. So in that way, the perception and interaction and the action and the body language of the robot all should be working together to achieve the real human-like interaction environment or human-like interaction experience, which are the needs. And why I'm saying all these again and again is that because there is still a huge demand for science and technology to advance in this direction, that how to achieve the multimodality of human-like interaction and experience. And then of course robot can perform and should perform physical tasks, and like holding something, and then again providing even manipulating things which are very small and tiny to perform the task in more collaborative and joint manner. And this type of things is another domain of robotics where we have to push other kind of technology altogether. So all these things which I am saying is just to let you know that how is the spectrum, how different kind of people from psychology, from computer science, from mechanical engineering, from sociology can contribute. And now we need also healthcare professionals in robotics to achieve that, how we can make robots which can be transcultural nursing, and which can be used for different kind of setup of environmental setup and cultural setup. And this is one of the scenario where robots are getting used for elderly care or healthcare facilities where there are different people from different background. We cannot program the robot based on our intuition that how these robots should be working. We need healthcare experts to be the part of this robotics development to make robot really useful and really engaging people, people who are very much isolated, people who are not able to interact with anyone. How robot can change their life, how robot can be their companion. So these things are really the need of the time, and there are lots of research and real deployment of robots which are happening in this direction. And this project was also one of the projects, first project in the world, one of the biggest project in the world, which was funded by European Commission and Japanese Ministry, where we also try to put Indian culture. India is already a multicultural country, diversity, but we try to see what are some of the key ingredients which makes it different, and then how we can put all those things in robot to interact people with Indian cultural origin compared to European and Japanese as well. So we have very interesting feedback and outcome of this project. Now let me be very fast because time is also running. So what about robot with a character? Again, this is a question which we have to see, that if robot has a personality and it has a character, what else it can do and how it can better engage with the people, how it can give the right message, how it can create awareness, because it is a combination of science, technology, art, and creativity all together. And these things are very much positive at the moment, and it is creating awareness, but also it is creating excitement. And we have to see how we are moving and where the future is going with this kind of robots. And then societal spectrum, let me show you this video again. So here the thing is that this robot is teleoperated, and it can be used for telepresence and avatar. It might look very weird for some people while watching at this video, but it can be seen as bridging the distance barrier. and connecting better with family, helping in telemedicine. Like if someone can manipulate the robot from remote, do physical activity, touch a patient, monitor a person, it has huge potential, because you are able to do the things from far. And in this COVID situation, I think you can imagine lots of application of the robots which are able to be manipulated from far by someone, by some expert. And why not this kind of robot can facilitate a differently abled person to get a job. This is something which is very unique. Perhaps people who are simply deprived from getting a job or being the part of the regular activity, these robots can serve as their avatar or as their body. And this is already happening. And this is one of the very important societal application which I can think about this type of robots. Aging society is again big concern worldwide. Our population is growing. There are many common old age conditions where robots can be very much useful. And the problem is we cannot have enough number of people. Like there is a term which is called silver tsunami, which is aging population in Japan or other countries, and how to take care of those people. So perhaps robots are one of the solutions where they can monitor people, they can be companion of the person, and then they can alert person, and no one should be dying just because they are alone and no one is able to monitor and alert a doctor on time. So there is again this huge potential of robots. So we also try to see how robot can improve the quality of life for people who has cognitive decline, and how robot can perform some memory games and boost the mental health of the people. And this is one of the directions where we are moving a lot, so that robot can help people to integrate better with the community rather than simply being in isolation. And that's why there is huge application of physical and cognitive assistance for through robots, breaking distance barrier, telemonitoring, telemedicine. And people are saying that they have less loneliness, and they have less compromised dignity. One of the very interesting input which we got is that sometimes people feel of less compromised dignity when they are depending on technology rather than depending on someone else who might not be treating well. And this again has the cultural uh, I think the background or the cultural bias in this type of outcome. But again, this questions a lot about our society, or some of the barrier we have in our society, or some of the problems that why there is still this type of thoughts which are emerging. So again, the quest is no one should die because of not being noticed on time. So these robots can really be the bridge to achieve that. You might have seen this video, which is very disturbing, because loneliness, bullying, depression, isolation, all these are putting our society, a part of society, at risk. Only thing is that there should be someone to talk to this type of people, to not be judgmental, just to listen, just to understand. Why we are not able to do this as a society, or perhaps we don't have time, or perhaps we don't want to, that is another question. But perhaps a technology which has some of the social interaction capabilities can help a little and reduce this type of social situation, which is very much depressing even for people who are somewhat normal. Autism is another condition which is a bigger global concern, and it is one of the fastest growing concern in the world. And we have seen how robot can help in autism therapy, encouraging social skills and verbal skills of the children, even to train the therapist. We can even create robots of different autistic points, because autism is a spectrum. So we can create an autistic robot to train the therapist as well. And since this robot can be programmed and provide a proper channel, only one channel of interaction, they are more useful for autism therapy. And there are many projects, and we have involved in many European projects to explore that direction. And just what this video, I don't know if you are able to again hear the sound, but just try to read the subtitle. So I think this is the message for everyone, that how our young generation or children are seeing the pressure, and how they are seeing a solution through robots in their day-to-day life problems and pressure. Like this child is seeing that he is getting lots of difficult questions. Perhaps there will be some more understanding entity or agent which will be giving easier questions, or at least understanding the needs of the child, and then uh, teaching in that way. So don't worry, our job as a teacher or professors are not at risk, but I think there is something, the added dimension which this kind of technology can bring in. Most important thing is that how the science fiction perception of this child has changed completely after interacting only 5 minutes with the robot and understanding. So why it happened? Because these robots are social, they have some social capabilities to interact, and this gave a different perception to the child that, okay, this robot can be useful, and it can be useful for one of my problems. If this 6 years old child is able to find the usefulness of such robots, why can't we? Why can't we see that how these kind of robots can help us in some of our societal, personal, or any kind of problems or needs? So this is the time to think about usefulness of robots in this way. So applications of humanoid robots in education, again, you can go in this reference to get more, but it's a wide ranging application. They can be used as teaching assistant. They can be used as a peer and co-learner. There is very interesting framework, you can say, which is learning by teaching. So if a child is teaching something to someone, in that way, he or she is learning more, or in a more engaged manner or better manner, or boosting what he or she has learned already. So these robots can be that platform where a child is teaching something to the robot, and in that process, while correcting the robot, he or she is learning better. So there have been many work in this direction, and results are very encouraging. Robots can be again companion, they can be entertainer to facilitate education through entertainment. They can be now far more telepresence medium for supporting education through telepresence, and being the medium, like even presence of a teacher or a student. And they can be already and always a teaching platform. They can repeat things thousands of times. That's a limitation of a robot, that they are not able to get angry or irritated, but it is an advantage to provide personalized teaching, because every child is different, and how we can give proper personal attention and care to each and every child. So these are some of the applications. We can also fight education inequality because of reducing the distance barrier, and providing the quality education in a rural area as well. Robot can also use as co-worker for disaster release, manufacturing, service, outbreak management, and all these are some of the branches of robotics which are very much using robots which are able to coexist in human environment and manipulate the things, do cooperative work, monitor the situation, And these things are very much gaining popularity, both in terms of research as well as in terms of real deployment. And they will help us to live less stressful life and safer working life. And this is one of the another societal impacts which these kind of robots can make. They can also help in preserving and spreading awareness about art, culture, language, even meditation, yoga, dance form, because they are human-like. So they can do everything which a non-human-like robot cannot do. And they can mimic any kind of dance or art. So like here, this robot is able to draw, and it is a special kind of a special type of drawing. It is a type of art which robot has learned through artist, and now it has a computation model, so it can take your picture and then sketch your face by showing this particular art form. And then you can see, so Sophia is able to draw your faces as well, but this is just one of the applications. Then we have also see how robot can help in having some meditation session, telemeditation session, by being a physical entity or even the medium for meditation. And again, many things like the dance or any kind of cultural identity which might be at risk, we can try to see how we can preserve through embedding in robots and creating the awareness. And I had some talks in UN regarding this, and it is interesting that there is this type of needs. Again, okay, so my timer is clicking, so I will be very fast now so that we have some discussion timing. So we also try to put robot to see how they can help for physical assistance. So people with Parkinson, knee surgery, hemiplegia, or any other condition, robots can serve to help them to move and navigate in the environment as the world reference, or helping just to make balance, or even being sudden companion in terms of sudden fatigue. And people of this kind of situation, they always need someone to be their side to be assistance and help in emergency. And these kind of robots are really useful, and we are pushing in those direction as well. So I will skip some of these so that I can give you some other messages. So I talked a lot about all these robots, but where is the boundary? Should we make something which is completely human, or there is a risk of making something which is not accepted by society? So there is this concept of uncanny valley, which is, you can see there is a valley which is indicating that when robots or any agents which are very human like, there is a risk that at one point they will fall in this valley, and their acceptance by the society will be negative. And we have to keep this in mind when we are designing any new robot, to see that where we are putting that robot. If it is on the left side of the valley, it is going in the valley, or on the right side. And this is something which you have to keep in mind, being the future generation of this technology. Now let me give very quick about the markets, so that you will be motivated. So humanoid robot market, global interactive robot markets, all are growing, and there are advanced features which are the drivers. They are very much used in education, research, personal assistance, search and rescue, public relations, and it will be even more and more different domains where these kind of robots will be used. And that's why uh, there is huge opportunity of having a right kind of career in this domain. Either it is going in the research or in industry, but these socially interactive humanoid robots will have huge potential and huge application in the near future. New job titles are emerging, so you can even see job titles like chief robotics officer. Then in terms of technology and innovation, it is a robot behavioral architect, social robotics app developer, cloud robotics programmer, healthcare robotics expert, educational experts, non-technical experts, psychology experts. So you can see how different peoples are the need in robotics. So we need also experts from art. We are having people who are working, who have animation background or who have even architecture background to craft the robot in a different way. So even we are engaging experts from uh, user experience and public perception of technology. And of course, there is a huge opportunity to start some companies because it will be like a smartphone. So you have a smartphone, then you have to develop apps on that. So it is, as you have a smart robots, now you have to develop apps. So there is a new ecosystem which is coming and which will create new opportunities. The real thing and the real need is that it has to be transdisciplinary. So different disciplines have to work together. And that's why the good news is that everyone can contribute now in this domain. And then, as I mentioned, there are people from AI, cognition, computer science, psychology, animation, mechatronics, public perception of technology, individual sociology, and many more. All are now working together, and it is an opportunity to really make a big impact by joining hands. There are social, legal, and ethical issues which I will just try to point a little, because we have also done a survey that what should be the role of these robots, what should be the responsibility, accountability, and priorities of these robots. Should they always follow the owner's command, or they should have social accountability and ethics? And these are similar questions which the autonomous driving industry is also asking. And we don't yet have a clear answer of this, but why I'm trying to say that we have to find answer of some of these in the near future, once these robots will be mass deployed. So we need people from law, ethics, social, legal, and all those policy making aspects to be better integrating in this technological evolution of robotics. Okay, so the part of the problem is this, as I have already mentioned, and this is Will Smith when really seeing Sophia in meeting Sophia in reality. So the need is that we have to change the perception of everyone and to see the positive side of this technology and to see how they can help us to moving in the right direction. So I think there are many surveys which are happening, and some of those are perhaps influenced by science fiction as well. But this is very interesting. Like people are saying they would like a robot pet instead of real pet if the child is asking. Perhaps there might be valid reason, but the question is the jobs of cats and dogs, are they also in danger? So these are simply some interesting facts and figure which is coming from the real user and the real people who are surveyed for robotics uses, and they are talking about this type of things. And then about 2/3 people prefer to have AI help them live independently in their golden years. So that is also interesting if there is a trust of the society on this type of technologies. So it also needs a bigger ecosystem: industry, academics, individual, policymaker, general public, media, insurance, fundraising. This is again simply going one slide, giving one slide about the bigger ecosystem which is getting created and which is making this kind of technology more useful to make a impact in the society. So we need right kind of discipline, right skills and different discipline, and we have to be very careful. Just take this example: we want to make a mixed water tap, like we want to regulate hot and cold water in a nice way, and the product should be very useful and looking nice. But if we are not doing the integration of different domains in the right manner, we might develop something like this. You can see the specification of controlling the hot and cold water is there. It is achieved, but this is not the way we want to achieve. This is not the final solution. And that's why we have to be very careful, and there is a need to create the right integration of different technology from the right level, even from the skill development at schools or at universities, that how we can let people to work together, how we can build a team of different expertise which can produce something which is not beyond, which is not only hobby or which is not only a project, but which is really, which is making an impact, which is going to the society, which is being used. How to be creative by joining hands of different disciplines together. It is very important. Okay, so different disciplines again, robots, AI, society, IoT, and many other things have to be coming together. Let me show this video. So I will not comment about what is good or bad here. I will simply question that how we should develop the technology, what should be the use of the technology, how it should empower people. Should it change the job, or should it change the way a job or a task is being performed? Should it elevate the task of the person or not? There is no bad in doing what she is doing. So I am simply saying that there is a real need to understand from the society that which kind of technology we have to deliver, what is the goal of that technology, and how it is going to empower the people. And these are the questions which we have to answer all together. Not a single industry, not a single institute, or not a single person can answer this. So that's why there is a need to create a community around this, and we are very much engaged in this. We are creating a strong community by special issues in journals, by organizing conferences, workshop sessions. We also organize one of the oldest robotics conference, International Robotics Conference, for the first time in Indian subcontinent, which is called Roman. It was last year in October. It was a huge success because different communities of robotics from India, from across the globe, they came together. They tried to understand what are the needs and from Indian context, and how we can solve it together from scientifically and technical perspective. So that's why there is a need to create a bigger community to really understand the real requirements and solve it from that perspective. Okay, and then education, healthcare, transportation are some of the key sectors where industry is growing a lot, and there is a huge need of potential exchange of knowledge, research between industry and academics, and to better understand the real requirements and to put all those things in our education system as well as in our skill development system to create the right kind of uh, people and right kind of robots at the same time. So the future intelligent humanoid robots, they will be socially intelligent because they will combine the powers of human, society, machines, AI, art, and creativity. And they will coexist with us as opposed to many of the science fiction imaginations. They will coexist with us for us in complete harmony for better life experience. And we should and we will have more time and space for being more creative, for thinking about ourselves. And I think this COVID crisis has given us this opportunity as well to think about that how we can utilize and how we should utilize the time to self explore and be more creative. So human exploitation, and big part of this is self exploitation, should be a thing of past. That's the ambition of putting and pushing robots which are socially intelligent and socially useful. And that's what. Welcome to the future. So thanks a lot for your time, attention, and I sorry for taking a little more time. I simply wanted to give different perspective of all these potential applications. Okay.
Thank you so much, Amitji, for this insightful and thoughtful session, I would say. And I could see that many of your slides covers positive side of this technological development. But still, we have few questions in our QA section. We will have. I would like you to address to, which again are actually talking about other perspective of whatever you have said. One question is a humanoid robot is and will be part of our society, but should they be given citizenship? Again, life is not present within. Can you elaborate and or share your perspective on it?
Yes, so this is a very common question, and I think this is having social, legal, and also how the society and policy makers are seeing the role of robot. Like in even in Europe, there is a discussion going on that should robot be paying taxes because they are working in industries. So they are taking time, giving time, and they should contribute to the society. So, and similarly, the citizenship is one of the questions. And I think if it is about a particular incidence of citizenship, so then it is a way of seeing that how different people or different countries or different associations recognizes a technology. Like you can have honorary PhD, so perhaps it is just to honor the technology that okay, we are just giving you honorary citizenship. But again, I should not say that what is good or right or bad, because it's a big thing. It's really that question which should be coming from policy maker and decision maker, that how we want to place the robots in our society. And so like when the smartphone came, we started to say they are smart, but what is a smartness in a smartphone? How it is compared to the people? So these are the similar things which are happening with the robotics technology, that okay, they are intelligent, perhaps they are human, they are citizen, but there will be some time when all these questions will be settled down. Yeah.
Another question from Dean Research, Dr. Jyoti Prakash Naidu at JK Lakshmipat University. As humanoids with emotional robotics capabilities are expensive, more popular in aging populations of Europe and Japan, how do you think it can be made affordable and applicable for Indian demographics? Even by 2040, when aging may catch up Indians may continue to prefer human companionship relative to the robot?
Yes, it is very, I think, grounded remark, and it has different aspects in this. One is the pricing of the robot, which is again coming to the question that how these robots can be mass produced. So and if there is a mass production of the technology, the pricing will always go down. And then the question is that even if it is affordable, then how is the society to accept it or not, and how we should penetrate or how we should push this type of technology in robots. So as I mentioned even in the survey that there were Indian population who were willing to have robots and AI in their life for when they are getting elderly. And that is again pointing to the societal challenge that if society is willing to accept robot, in which role, because then only the technology will be useful. So if even Indian may continue to prefer human companionship relative to robot, that is the best part of us, of our society. But there will be gaps because people will be living isolated. There will be people who will need help in their elderly ages. There will be new ecosystem where perhaps monitoring at home will be needed. And if we are not able to give proper time and attention, if we are simply making our elderly population to live but not to live actively or healthy or more engaged, then perhaps robot can fill that gap. And that's what we have seen by real deployment of these robots in some of the places, that there is still a gap and we have to identify the gap. And it is very rightly mentioned in this comment that in Europe or in Japan, the situation is different. What is that gap in India? we have to identify that. And personally, I am pushing a lot of effort in that direction. As I mentioned, we put first time we brought that international conference in India. We tried to create a ecosystem of different people, different experts in India. And I think we have big opportunity here to work together exactly on this question and to see that how we can find the needs and create the right technology for Indian context.
True. Another question is from Devanshu Jain, faculty of EEE at J.K. Lakshmipat University. As the US is the world power in technology, but when a sudden attack of corona is there, we are not able to fight with it. We can say that AI, ML, and many more technology are not again helping us in this case. Any advanced technology which you are aware of, or robotics can automatically sense the nature of sudden attack or can find a solution itself.
Very interesting. Yeah. So there is a huge, I think, a requirement at the moment that how the technology should be accelerating to be more predictive, and then how they can act and react when something is happening. So if it is AI and machine learning, they are very much used nowadays to predict the spread of this type of viruses, and also to understand that how it will be growing in time or declining in time or at geographical level, and how it is mutating, and what is the capabilities of these mutations, what is the issues around this, how it is spreading once it is in supermarket, or even we are able to visualize that if people are at 1 meter distance and someone is running, is it going to spread faster or not? So technology is really helping a lot in predicting, in visualizing, even creating awareness to the people through real simulation and visualization. And that is AI and machine learning part of that, and including many other technologies together. If we will simply talk about robots, it is very interesting because suddenly there was this huge demand and huge expectation about teleoperated robots. So robot which is bridging this distance barrier, like doctors and patients, they want to be physically isolated and then robot is the medium there, that a doctor can operate a teleoperated robot, which I mentioned in one of my slides, and then it can monitor the patient, it can interact with the patient, and it will be beyond simply a video chatting with the patient. Robot can deliver the things, robot can deliver medicines, reducing the risk of a healthcare professional to be in contact with the patient or the person. Robot can be companion, bringing again the family member to the people who are in isolation. So there is this technology which is really finding the solutions of its usefulness in the current situation. So it is very positive, and in Indian context we are also seeing and pushing this. Personally, I am very much engaged in pushing this type of things. We have some project of telemedicine, telehealthcare using robot avatar, which is happening in India, and if we have interest, we will again collaborate in all this domain.
Another question is from Professor Gustavo Sanchez, professor of EEE at J.K. Lakshmipat University. He has been thanking you for your presentation, and he's posing two questions. In JKLU, we are trying to develop electronic skin, which can provide a robot the sense of touching. Do you think this can be useful to achieve a better human-robot interaction? And how can we teach the robot the right type of interaction? We may need specific teachers for robots in the future.
Yeah, that is again very interesting and very timely and useful question, and as well as the technology, because the interaction with robot has multimodality. Verbal and dialogue based interaction is one, but there is a big part of the physical interaction which is now we are trying to reduce because of this COVID situation. But there is the need, like if robot is there, someone is touching to the robot should feel and sense that part, and then it should react instead of simply standing still or not able to detect and react in a more social manner. So this technology we are also pushing a lot to have a skin technology and touch skin technology, and it is definitely helpful, because when we put robot and children are the first thing they try to do is to touch the robot. And if a robot is not able to sense that, interaction is breaking, and then the motivation is breaking to further interact. And one of the challenge which we are facing as an industry is to how to keep the long-term interaction between human and robot, and this technology will help in that. And so that's why, again, I think it is very relevant that we can think about some collaboration in this domain as well.
So thank you. And this last question we shall answer because it is from student. Do you think we will reach singularity in 3 4 5 years? How do you imagine the human robot dynamic?
I lost you. Can you please repeat?
She said the
It's even
question,
actually
do you think we will reach singularity
singularity.
in our lifetime? And if so, then how do you imagine the human robot dynamics?
Yes. So uh, I think, again, it has some inspiration from science fiction movies as well, this question. But it has, again, the real concern. If people see that, okay, there is a singularity which is coming, and which many people are seeing and advocating, but the main question is how to define that singularity. If human and robots are going to be one body, or it is simply that robots are so intelligent that they are completely integrated in human society in a human like manner. And that is again a question which answer is not very clear, but it is not which is going to happen very soon. It will take time, and it will be the responsibility of all of us that how we want to derive this direction. But one point of this similarity can be the artificial general intelligence, AGI, which is again far, which is not that we can achieve this in next 3 4 5 years or something like that. So we are on the path, and goals are yet to be defined, the final and ultimate goals, and it is the time. It is a long way to go. We are as a community, as experts, we can see some of the applications, but again, the new generation of researcher and students, they have to define and redefine the singularity and the path of that. So yeah, so it is interesting question.
So thank you so much for this enlightening session. And at this juncture, particularly when we are talking about life, livelihood, and technology, this was a correct time to address all these things through this technology. Thank you so much. Over to Sanjay sir. Sanjay sir.
Unmute.
Sanjay sir, mute.
Sanjay, unmute karo.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Amit. Wonderful listening to you. Uh, do you want to comment upon the Indian industry situation on the in the robotics arena?
Yes, so I
What is the
was very
size and what are the problems that the Indian robotic companies are working, and how is their growth, and how do you see the future in the next uh, coming 3, 4, 5 years for the budding engineers who want to take up this as a career while working in India? Don't have to join you in Paris, but work in India itself. Yeah.
yeah. So that is very relevant, and this is one of the things which is very close to me also, that personally I am trying to explore and push how is the Indian robotics scenario and how we can push it better. So when we put this conference first time in India, we got a good response from many industries in India, many um, applications which we discovered also. So this Indian robotics, this answer would have been different when you have asked 2 or 3 months ago. But now in this COVID crisis, things has changed a lot suddenly, dramatically. So Indian robotics scenario was most on warehouse robots, making robots autonomous to handle some inventory and some objects. And now these robots are getting used to see how they can serve as the telemedicine platform or
healthcare primarily. Yeah.
yes, so healthcare is simply now taking a good momentum from the Indian robotics scenario. So many of the companies are now jumping in this direction, and they are trying to adopt their old solution or ongoing solution to this healthcare requirement. So it is changing, and at the same time, there are some efforts which are being made in developing the complete humanoid robot. But yet there is a need to find the right market of those type of robots to make them more useful just beyond a few copies or just a proof of concept system. But that is happening, that is changing. So from my perspective, and the perception of the policymakers, because it was also, and it is important to put these things in the mind of policymakers to help the Indian scenario. So these things are changing, but still there is a need to understand the right global scenario, that what are the potential applications of this type of robots, and how we can think about one technology can be used along multiple verticals in Indian context. So this has to be.
Amit, if I could understand as a layman, not that I know anything about robotics and world of that kind, but as this COVID and COVID-like scenarios are unfolding, and it has thrown many such opportunities for this field to explore and explore to the extent possible. I was just wanting to know, you talked about ethics, you talked about behavior, you talked about culture. How has this world of robotics embedded this successfully so far? Ethics, culture, values, whatever you call them, and so on and so forth. What has been the experience so far in whatever application has been developed?
Hmm. Yeah, so all these are, I think, different directions which we have to explore. And so far, the world of robotics is now joining hands with experts from ethical and societal side,
First, yeah.
trying to define that what should be the behavior of the robots. And robots, is there a kind of handbook of ethics? That is the biggest question. And we don't have answer for this, because once robots are learning, robots are behaving, they are taking decisions autonomously, there might be question times where they have to understand what is the right decision. Like people are now starting to discuss about autonomous car, that should it take a decision to save the person who is sitting in the car, inside the car, or to save the person on the road. So we as a robotics community, it has to get an answer of this type of questions, and still it is happening.
Okay.
There are many ethical communities which are built. Personally, I am also involved of some of these activities, being in the EU robotics topic groups and found and collaborating. So this is a question which we are exploring. And then from the cultural side, we are trying to, as I mentioned, we developed one of the first projects, I think, in the world, where robot is trying to be multicultural, based on the background of the person. So it is not again being biased, but better interacting with the person, and that is the need. So like we put robot in a healthcare facility where people, elderly care facility where people are from Indian cultural background, then Japanese, then European, and trying to see that should robot talk about pasta or samosa. It makes a big difference in the way people perceive the robot. So those things are happening. We have created a strong scientific community about the cultural intelligence of the robot.
All right. All right. Over to Sonal.
Thank you so much, Amitji. It was really a good session overall, and the session would be there on our Facebook page as well. So I'm sure that people would later on also take the advantage of this.
Yeah, and
Thank
thanks
you.
for inviting. I think it is really good to connect, especially to see Sanjay Goyal sir, and to get introduced with all of you. And all these questions which I got are really showing that how the perception and how the acceptance of the technology and is changing, how the thought barrier has changed from past 10 years. This is very important to see the positive side and go beyond the science fiction. So I think we are going beyond the science fiction. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
yeah, thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Amit. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sanjay. Take care. अभी थोड़ा कमजोरी है. Take care.
Yes, you have to take care very much.
Rest, take rest. Yes, smile is smiling, glowing, but you need to take rest. All the best. Thank you so
Also,
much.
send me a robo.
Huh?
Send me a robo to take care of myself. Okay.
Okay,
I'm
we'll
asking
ask
Amit to send me a robo.
But there are micro robots which are getting built, which you have to simply take as a pill, and then it will detect all problems in your body and then warn you. Yeah. So I will send you a small and big robots for everything.
So, Amit, how is it happening in Paris? You know, this COVID thing, is it all under control or it's just?
Yes, it is control, but control in the sense that we are trying to simply living in our homes.
Okay.
But still, it has many factors. So I think it will. Time will tell us that how it is unfolding.
Everybody gives the same answer all over the globe.
Yeah.
Right, you are right. You are right.
अभी
Absolutely.
के लिए बस हम लोग घर में सरवाइव कर रहे हैं.
बस भाई. कब तक ये भी नहीं पता. जयपुर बहुत खतरे में आ रहा.
Yeah.
Chalo, God bless each and every one of us. Thank you so much, Amit. Thank you, Sanjay.
Yes,
Thank you so
take care, and I think we have to simply do yoga, meditation, follow our culture, and we will be
great. Yes.
healthier and safer. Yeah. Okay, bye then.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.